Welcome to another episode of Expert Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today I am talking with, not one, but two wonderful ladies, Angela York, Elyse Stoner. Welcome to Experts Speak.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
You are so welcome. It's going to be a fun conversation. So I met these ladies at an event recently, and it was kind of like one of those moments when you meet your best friend and you go, "Oh, where have you been all my life?" We're like siblings from different mothers, and we talk the same. We have the same passion around marketing and business growth for those that we serve. And so what we're talking about today is Elyse and Angela. They're experts. Their company is Event Advisors. They help advisors put on events that turn into revenue because you're building long-term relationships. Now, I'm gonna just pop the bubble. We're not talking about those steak dinner things you get in the mail all the time, right? We are talking about really events with and for your clients where you are building deep relationships and it turns into revenue from your client, revenue from referrals, all kinds of wonderful things when it's done right. These ladies have figured it out. And I'm going to just stop there because I want to know really how did you two, I mean, you've done a lot in life. How did you end up doing this?
Angela, why don't you go first?
So we both had very long and fulfilling careers in the event planning space before we met. I actually come from the advisor services space. I've been working in your offices as your marketing event planner, your event planner and implementer. And I did that for almost 2 decades. I am on the West Coast in Orange County, California, and worked with our local advisors and wholesalers. And I would be taking events, taking marketing plans that were given to the advisor from their coaches, from the broker dealer, and it was, let's do this, let's implement it. And it was very much rinse and repeat. Strategy was not in that vocabulary at all. Sometimes the events worked and sometimes they didn't. It was just what we knew growing up in the advisor services space and what we did. In comes the pandemic. Elyse and I met at that point. Her background is completely different, very strategic. And in two parallel paths, we were talking about strategic event planning. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I was working with clients on shifting their in-person events to virtual events and all the nuances that came with that, touching touch points with clients that weren't in your local area. We never did that before because they didn't do virtual events and all those other little intricacies that were aha moments when we like chocolate and peanut butter. You look at the two, they're great separately, and you start comparing how it would be when you combine the two different tactics. And long story short, we developed event advisors and we created a model and started integrating strategic event planning into the event planning model where you're looking, we'll dig into it in a little bit, but it really shifted the success of events and using events as a tool to grow your client relationships.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thanks for that background. And it's really, I love how you're phrased it right there at the end, strategic event planning. And using events as it's a marketing strategy. It's not a one-time thing, but it's an ongoing, and we're going to talk more about that. But when you really grasp this concept and how you ladies really have figured this out, it totally moves the needle, and it causes you to want to do client events in a different sort of way, right?
Yep. We hope so.
Well, it should. We've got some of our clients who do events, and I just see them all the time. Well, either they do the dinner seminar type event, the educational type event, and they have okay results. I've got another guy. He's got it figured out. They do events like they give away pumpkin pies at Thanksgiving, and they do, and their whole team's there, and they go out to orchards, and they do all kinds of fun things to build relation. Their clients are posting all over it, bringing people, grow, and I'm like, it's not either or. It's just that you're here, you specialize in these client-centric events because of the relational aspect that it builds, and that leads into more revenue. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. So let's talk to advisors. What are they struggling with in events? Why is this such a different? Why don't they do this? And what have you figured out strategically to really help them really grow their business by building relationships with clients?
Well, I think, Angela mentioned this when she was starting before we met and she was doing these events. The strategy was looking around and seeing what somebody else was doing. And it's a strategy, I guess. But really, what we do and we work with our clients is we kind of have them do almost an inward look.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, what do your clients want? What do your clients want to know? How are you then positioning yourself as that conduit to bring them the knowledge, bring people together? Whatever your business goal is, it's that combination of business goal and what do your clients want. And a lot of people, like you said, they're not doing that because they're not looking at an event as a strategy or as a marketing tactic. They're simply looking at it as a thing we do, a thing we don't really love to do, but we're supposed to do. So for us, it's a total shift in mindset. And then there's a second component to that, which is we hear from a lot of people saying, I don't like to do events because the ROI is so bad on them.
Mm-hmm.
And our philosophy is if you're looking for an event to have ROI, you're barking up the wrong tree. That you need to actually set goals for the event based on your business goals, and that's how you're going to measure success. We call that ROM. It's return on the moment.
I love that. And when done right, so here's what I'm processing as you're saying all of that. A strategic client event should, and correct me if I'm wrong here, right? It should lower anxiety for that client. It should increase excitement of coming to something that could be fun and educational. And it should really expand word of mouth and referrals, because after that event, that client should be telling their friends, you won't believe what I did last night. Is that a good summary?
It's a good summary. And part of it, again, is that mindset shift to know your client, to say, is your client going to go, oh my God, I went to a really fancy steakhouse last night? And again, if they can do that already on their own, then you don't really need to do that for them. And you're probably not going to get a client who's going to go, oh my God, I had this meeting with my advisor and they like quadrupled my investment, right? So while education is important, it's having something organic, something real that people can talk about once they leave the room.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
And
everybody talks
not
about.
so much right after the event. The holiday dinner tables are a great opportunity for people to have those conversations organically, because that's when family tends to get together that haven't been together, or friends. And someone might say that their daughter's getting a divorce, they might be getting divorced, somebody passed away, they came into inheritance, they're selling their business. And these are just conversations that friends and family have between each other, asking for thoughts or telling struggles. And that's a perfect organic opportunity for someone to say, oh my gosh, you need to talk to my advisor. They helped us through this, or I know they'd be happy to speak with you and just give you some non-biased advice.
Yeah, absolutely. That top of mind awareness and the heart connection, that you need to talk to my advisor, right? How many people, they don't have advisors? They really don't. And if they do, they're not doing these things. Talk about how does it work? How do you work with an advisor? I mean, how many events should they be doing a year, or is there a plot or plan, or is it based on that advisor and where they are? How does it even work for somebody who's like, all right, this is a little different. I do dinner seminars, or I've done them in the past, they didn't work. What should I be thinking about here to build into my clientele?
Go ahead, Angela.
So the first place we like to start, actually, let me take a step back. There isn't a set answer to those questions. We don't say you need to do X amount of events. You don't need to do X amount of educational, X amount of social, X amount per year, X amount in person or virtual. We can't give a blanket answer on that. What it boils down to, and where we start with all our clients, is having them look at their ideal client, their ideal attendee. What does their book of business look like? Who do they want to replicate? And while we're having those conversations, we also ask them to look at their business goals. And they can have one or more business goals. For an example, I want to deepen the relationships with our female clients, perhaps the wives of the husbands that are coming to the meetings. The wives don't tend to be coming to the meetings. I want to develop those relationships so they feel comfortable coming to the meetings, because that business goal is to develop the relationships with both the husband and wife, so that when one passes and the other doesn't, they still have that relationship with the account.
100%.
Another business goal could be developing the relationships with the adult children with that same premise in mind, keeping the whole family account together. Because we all know, and there's some very high statistics on this, is when the husband passes away, the wives will leave. And when both parents pass, the children will leave because the relationship hasn't been developed.
That's right.
So
100%.
when they develop those business goals, then we look at what are the event goals. So if you have a business goal targeting women, we create women-centric events. Adult children-centric events. Sometimes events, we invite everyone to them. Sometimes you don't. It's okay. You do not need to invite everybody to everything. Events don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be large. They can, but they don't have to be. They can be micro events. So when we look at the business goals and then the event goals, then we look at the ideal attendee and the ideal client. Who do you want to have there and who do you want to replicate? And we actually work through a series of questions to uncover demographics and psychographics. Because when you create an event that speaks to the invitee, they're more apt to come because schedules are so busy. So if you are in your early 40s and you're invited to a Social Security seminar, you're probably not going to attend because that's not something you're open to squeezing in between soccer practices and work and everything else. So you create the event logistics based on the data that you collect from your clients. You can ask them in review meetings, you can ask them in a survey. You take that data and create the event, time of day, location, topics. And when you have all that, then you add in follow-up. You add in what are you going to do after the event, and you plan that while you're planning the event. So all of these ingredients creates a very strategic model that builds into the ROM, return on the moment, that Elyse was talking about.
Amazing. Yeah.
That's in a nutshell.
Follow-up is not an afterthought. What came to me is like, wow, that's brilliant. Here's what hit me, and I don't know if you've got any clients doing this, but you talked about the spouse thing. So you could do an event for husband, wife, or whatever, the financial planning, but then you do one for the spouse, and then you do one maybe for the couple around college planning if they have those age kids, and then you do one for the adult kids, and you talk about strategic. How many times not only are you touching your ideal client, but are you inviting them in to do, and every event has a different look, feel, whatever, but it's all, hey, we're always going every other month. My guy's putting on a thing, or my gal's putting on a thing, and we go and we have fun and we learn and we talk about business growth. Unbelievable.
Exactly.
I mean, it's, and I love this because it's kind of like book publishing. This is a really old marketing strategy. Events, right? Getting people together, but knowing how to do it properly. changes the entire game. And what you bring to the table, and I want you to unpack this, is this done for you, done with you approach where the advisor can get overwhelmed so fast, especially if they've not done them or they're a 1 or 2 person shop or something. Y'all got the experience. You're like, we got you. What do you want to do? And but it's very strategic to go, here's how we're going to do it. And so talk a little bit about how do you work with advisors in the done for you, done with you type process. What's it even look like?
So it's interesting that you use that like football analogy because that's where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
I come from sports and entertainment. Everything we do is strategic, right? If I've got a truck pull and I've got Sesame Street Live, I'm maybe using the same channels, like I'm buying radio ads, but I'm buying very different radio ads for my truck pull than
Right.
I am for Sesame Street Live. So,
Right.
so you're speaking my language, and that's kind of where all of this comes from. How do we work with our clients? Again, we can work across the gamut. We have a do-it-yourself model, which is actually a web-based project management tool that we have created based on our many, many decades of
Mm-hmm.
event experience that they can buy, they can download, and it's a timeline,
Uh-huh.
and it has tools and tips and an emergency kit. What should you put in your emergency kit? And at this time, so many weeks out before your event, what should you be doing? And that's just for the person who's just like, I don't even know where to start. I just know it gives me a really big headache and I lay awake at night going, did I miss something? So that is the do-it-yourself model. We have a couple different ways where we do it with you. We have discovered that oftentimes people are just like, I have this one event, right? And I just want to see what I can do in a more strategic way to kind of amp it up. So we have a package, we call that the event intensive. So it's just like, here's a couple sessions, and we work through what you're doing, what you're thinking about doing, your follow up, learning a little bit about who you want in the room, all of those things that we talked about. For somebody who says, you know what, I've got a whole bunch of events and it's just sort of this pile of tangled up cords on my desk, if you will. We do offer a retainer where we're your partner and we kind of walk through everything all the time. And if you're a wholesaler, a coach, a consultant, where you're seeing your people wanting to do events, we actually have what we call the gifted sessions. We kind of like the double entendre of that, where they can buy a block of sessions and gift them to those people.
Very cool.
So for example, let's just say, Michael, you bought a block of hours, and as people are publishing their books and they want to do a book launch party,
Mhm.
you make that love connection, and we help people think about what their book launch party is going to look like based on the goals that they have for their book and their business. So
Yeah.
that's just one example. And then we do have a complete like get out of the way, we will take care of this version. We don't do a lot of those. And in full disclosure, because especially working with financial advisors, we can't always touch client data. We recognize there's some privacy.
Yeah.
So we do everything that we can within the letters of the law to help you put on an event.
Yeah. And that's great because that takes so much of the headaches out of things, right? Because planning events is not simple when you do it right, because
Correct.
you've got so many things, but it's as you mentioned, the follow up is super important. After somebody comes up, I mean, do you follow up with them like the next day, a week later, or 5 weeks later, or yes, you're right. I mean, and what does that look like, and how do you monetize that long term?
Right.
Because the event, dare I say, is not the event. I mean, it is, but it's
Mhm.
really you're building a relationship, and none of us build relationships with like one night stands. We
Exactly.
want to keep courting and building and all of that. And that's what you two are so good at. And I mean, there are other people and organizations that help you do events, but they're prospect focused events. And you have really just pivoted. I would say, I think it was Marshall McLuhan years ago. He was a marketing guru. And he
Mhm.
said, you only have to be 10% new to make a
Right.
million. And really, what you've done is you've taken this entire event module and pivoted it 10% to go, we're going to focus on those you already have, those who already trust you. And we're
Right.
going to help you dive deep, build a relationship with them. I loved how you said their children, the spouse, all of that, because advisors out there know, in the next 20 years, we're going to have the biggest transfer of money ever. And that money's going to be leaving your pockets and going to some other advisor if you don't have client-centric events. Fair? Okay, that was a big statement, but I think you could back that up. Is we do business with people we know, like, and trust. What better way to do it than spending time with somebody? Education,
Exactly.
baseball games, you name it. It could be anything. And I know that when people sit down and talk with you on Zoom or in person, whatever, a short conversation could probably just open up a bunch of opportunities to go, wow, never even thought about that, because events, especially in the financial advising world, have been so myopic that everybody goes, well, I know what to do that. Yeah, give us 15 minutes. Let us open the can a little bit and see how we can help you get a better ROM than you ever imagined. Wow. Okay. I think we've scratched the surface, and I know we could go on for hours, because this is a strategy, and that's why I love when you came in at the beginning and said, really, you're event strategists for advisors. You help put this in place as I would call it an ongoing marketing strategy, whether that's once a year, twice a year, once a quarter, once a week, once a month. It doesn't matter. Y'all figure that one out. It's not posting on LinkedIn and Facebook, right? This is like physical, in person, hand to hand. Amazing.
Right.
That, dare I say, not many people are doing, right?
No.
And
You know,
go ahead.
you look over our shoulders here, and for those who are listening and not looking at the video, we have a picture of a stream, and there's rocks in that stream. We believe that events or any of your marketing tactics are rocks in that stream. And think about what happens, right? There's a rock, the water flows around it, that the rock actually can control the flow of that stream. So, whether that is a relationship with a client journey, your marketing, choose whatever you want that stream to be, but the tactics direct what happens. So if you are strategically placing your rocks in the stream, you are really driving that know, like, trust and building towards, the end of that stream, which is deepening relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in the financial advising world, relationships rule the roost. Because if I'm going to transfer my money to you, I have to trust you. And I'm convinced trust is a factor of time spent together. And you can do that through radio. I was a radio guy a long time ago, time spent listening, right? You can do it through books, you can do it through video. What better way than do it through a client-centric event with great follow-up and a strategic process in your business growth plan? I think it's great. I'm so glad that we met. How do people get a hold of you? They're out there, they're thinking this, they're like, wow, that'd be fascinating. Or what's the best next step for somebody?
There's two ways that people can do. We do spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, so they can connect with either one of us or with event advisors on LinkedIn. If they want to learn a little bit more about the options of working with us and what these client questions look like, excuse me.
All right.
We have a website, event-advisors.net/get started. It's all one word because, make it easy. And there's just a couple ways they can learn a little bit more about ways to work with us.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to grab that and put that into the show notes so that people can find it really easy as they're out and about running their business. They can go to the show notes for this episode, click on those, connect with them on LinkedIn, because I'm sure you're posting all kinds of great content and client stories and things. So make sure you're connecting on LinkedIn, but go get that Get Started program. Start learning how to think differently about client-centric events. And if you're not a financial advisor, go get it anyway, because this is a strategy that will work for lots of business owners. So I think what you two are doing is really, really cool. I think it's much needed. I love that it's not just another online shiny object thing. It takes thought, it takes strategy, and it's highly, highly relational. So you get my vote. So Angela and Elyse, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing to make a difference in people's lives, businesses. But thanks for being great guests for my podcast, Experts Speak.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. All right. Thanks for listening to Experts Speak. Tune in again next week. We're going to have another great episode. So between now and then, take care. God bless.